Hey Cody, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. Sorry for making you wake up so early if you're not a
It's fine.
morning person.
It's whatever. I can always go back to sleep.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect.
So Cody, how's everything going with Armory Gaming?
Good. Yeah. I'm having a lot of fun making it, so that's always a good sign.
Nice. Is it armorygaming.com?
ArmoryGamingGear.com.
Armory Gaming. Sweet. So tell me about a little bit about your project.
Yeah. So I've always been kind of into like what gear does this person use, whether it's like musicians or DJs or whatever. And in gaming as well, you see a lot of people, especially on like Twitch and stuff.
Hmm.
They'll be like listing what they use in their under their chat and all that kind of stuff. And for one, I found it annoying. Like I'd have to go into each individual channel to see what each individual person uses. And there were a few sites that sort of aggregated that information, but I'd go to one and I'd see a bunch of information, and then I'd go to another and it would be totally different gear. And I kind of thought to myself, like, these guys don't post proof of how they found out that this person uses a specific mouse, for example, or whatever.
Hmm.
And I thought, you know, I'd give it a crack at building a better way so that people can provide proof. And two, the information can be crowdsourced. So one thing that kind of annoyed me about these sites too was that if like I knew that someone used a specific mouse because I saw it in a clip or whatever, I
Hmm.
couldn't add it myself and it would just be up on the site. I had to pretty much like email it to them and
Ask
apparently,
them to update their post,
yeah, exactly.
which they never would.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty annoying. I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was like, and then sometimes they don't update it. Like, I remember when I was playing Fortnite. I don't play anymore, but when I was trying to figure out what mouse he used, and then I was trying to look at like, uh, I was looking at different clips, and someone says, "Oh, he uses this mouse," and another person says, "Oh, now he uses this mouse," and I'm like, "What's accurate?" You know?
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of hard to tell. And I guess I wanted to test the idea that if everyone could contribute and everyone could upvote, downvote, then you'd end up with a more accurate end result. So yeah.
So you have upvote and downvote.
Yeah, so if you view a product on someone's profile page,
Uh huh.
so if you click on their profile, click on one of their products, you'll see a little pop up. Yeah. So if you click on like his mouse, for example,
The ultralight.
yeah. So if you scroll down, you'll see a link to the proof, a little explanation of what the proof is, and then on the
Well, words there, monster. You gotta love Tifu. Always ready to paint a story, create a rivalry,
so you
right?
can see the mouse and keyboard there.
Oh yeah, I did see the mouse there.
Yeah, and then you see the little thumb up, thumb down on the right side there. So you can vote, if that was accurate or if not, and then it sort of ranks it on the page there.
So I noticed that you don't have to be logged in order to upvote.
Yeah, I wanted to make certain things as accessible as possible. It's definitely something I'm still playing around with. So you don't
Mhm.
have to log in to upvote, downvote, or add products. You do have to log in to add profiles
Uh-huh.
or teams and certain other things. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense because like there's uh there's no reason for a hacker to want to go on your site and like randomly upvote products unless they're like the manufacturer of that certain item. I think that'd be pretty far out to kind of like.
Yeah, and that's the problem, the toss up, I guess, with allowing unlogged in users to do things on your site. But I do a few things
But
to
yeah, but I mean, it's like it's upvoting these gaming products. There's not that much incentive to really uh, mess with that data.
Yeah, and the upvoting only like upvotes it on that person's profile. So the overall rank of the game, like or sorry, the product on the homepage, is only affected by how many profiles it's attached to. So how many people use it.
Hmm. Yeah, I can understand someone wanting to like, but unless there's like a huge business of like marketing. Well, actually, come to think of it, are you going to get any marketing money for these products? Is that going to be part of your business model?
Um, there's a number of ways that I've thought about monetizing. One of them is like if you click on the mic, for example, you see the Amazon referral links. So that's a pretty
Ah,
common one, right?
cool.
And I feel like that is a pretty, it doesn't throw the user like an ad. It's pretty like if they're looking at this gear, they might want to buy it anyways. So in some ways, you're helping them. So I thought
Hmm.
that was a pretty like unobtrusive way of monetizing.
Did
I
you
have
have you made
considered.
any money yet?
No, I haven't really started trying to gain users yet. I've been having too much fun building features, but that's definitely something I've come to realize. I should probably start working on user growth.
Yeah, I mean, I think making a good product is always a good idea first because you build it and you know it's it looks great. You put a lot of energy into the graphic design. Looks clean.
Thanks. Yeah.
I like how you didn't
I'm
use like too many colors in your color palette. Uh,
Yeah, design is definitely not my strong point, but I tend to
Really,
spend a lot of time on it because I want it to look good. I want people to enjoy being on the site,
and
and
your
I
logo,
think
it's great. I mean, I would have thought that you had a designer, you were a designer.
no, it's literally I think a font awesome icon just in text. And I
That's
did look it up. You are allowed to do that for a logo, interestingly enough.
Yeah. I mean, that's what graphic design is. You just go to Font Awesome. I mean, as a designer, I go there all the time. I go to like actually, have you heard of Flat Icon?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I go to Flat Icon, and then sometimes I'll like use those things as a starting point, and then I'll drag them into Illustrator, alter them, turn them into
Yeah,
something
yeah.
else.
They're good starters because they're sort of basic designs, but they have, the base that you want, basically.
Yeah, and then and you also have it by products.
Yeah. So this is what I was talking about. Like this, for example, is the top products. You can sort it by like new, new
I have one
and
of those.
so yeah, they're pretty cool. Actually, most streamers have one of those. Almost all of them.
I'm using this right now. The
Yeah, yeah. That's a good camera too.
um, So this is cool. So yeah, the problem I was kind of talking about is like I
Hmm.
think that in games there's too much advantage to having like a certain setup, and a lot of kids go into these games thinking that oh, if I just practice the default settings I'm going to be good. But literally it's the case where it's impossible in Fortnite if you use the default setting to be good. Like
Yeah,
impossible. And it kind of makes me wonder like why does Fortnite like set these kids up for failure? Like obviously like and also you can create like macros on some of these mice that like help you build things faster and all these
yeah,
things like that. Like
absolutely.
what are your thoughts on like just how un I wouldn't call it unfair, but it is unfair. If you don't know like what you're doing with the gear, you literally can't become better.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know why. I guess for certain games, the basic controls are kind of obvious. If you play first person shooters, for example, um, almost all first person shooters, you'll be able to do the basic controls without knowing anything, right? In a game like Fortnite, there's so many buttons that do different things. Probably why I'm so bad at it. But yeah, like I have to think the only reason is that Epic Games came up with this control scheme that was pretty basic, and the players themselves actually, pushed. I guess you could say like uh, pushed the
The limit.
yeah pushed the limit on controls and tried so many different configurations. and became so good with, different keybinds that eventually it just, was a clear advantage to have certain keybinds over others. And the same happens with gaming gear, but, you know, I don't like to push the fact, you have to have the G Pro, mouse to be the best. I think certain gear, just like in everything, like if you have a faster car, you're going to win the race, right? But not everyone can afford the faster car, and in certain cases, it might not be the best for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to do things like the gear recommender, so that you can look and have a choice of like the best mice for what you do.
Is there a way to, why not just have sections where people could crowdsource the what's it called? Crowdsource well, first the keybinds that they use, but also the alternatives. Like if you're already crowdsourcing the other things, why not just crowdsource that stuff as well?
The keybinds, you mean?
The keybinds. Well, okay, so I think like figuring out who uses which keybinds, exactly is maybe a little hard to do because they probably keep it secret. But maybe have a section on each post where people can post the keybinds. If they own that mouse, post their keybinds for a certain game. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the pros, but also if you have evidence, then post it with the pros, what the pros are using for keybinds. Also for alternative products, like I know in Fortnite there's several mice that have a lot of buttons on the mouse that are really good for it. And then so if I'm like a user trying to look for Tfu's mouse, but then I also see that which is that light thing, but there's also the G Pro as the alternative. I could be like, oh, well, I kind of learned that the G Pro is what Ninja uses for Fortnite. And then, yeah, maybe like if you had a category by people, products, and games, it could be kind of cool.
Yeah, I've thought about a lot of different configurations, and the keybinds thing I do think is important, and it kind of does go hand in hand with gear. The reason I didn't start with it was because I think there's a lot more sites that do keybinds than focused on the gear. So I just kind of wanted to attack that vertical. And I also, like you said, there's a lot of ways you can, crowdsource the keybinds and maybe like, I don't know, combine all of the ones into like the most popular sort of thing for each game. So those are certainly things I've thought about, and they're definitely good ideas. And yeah, having more sort of discovery pages, like you said, people, products, games, as well as like teams, for example, are things I've thought about. Right now, what you can kind of do is if you open up search, you can select a team or a game, for example, and then you'll see.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, so if you select Fortnite, these are now the most popular products used by Fortnite players.
That is super dope.
Yeah, I'm like I love looking at like stats and things like this. So one of the first things I wanted to add was the ability, I want to find the mouse most commonly used by Fortnite players who are esports pros and they're under, 20 years old or something. And basically with this search thing, you can come up with lots of interesting, I guess, queries.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. You can even see the chair.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
If you had too many filters, there's often not a result. But one of my favorites too is if you go to the sorting drop down there on the top right, or I guess it's middle right for you right now. Right of the open search where it says top with the little and then sort by earnings. So this is sorted by the earnings of esports pros.
It's not Ninja?
No, funnily enough. This is only, sorry, I should specify. This is only earnings in esports tournaments.
Oh, earning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a big disclaimer because obviously
I was about to say like
Tifu and Ninja have made millions and millions off of their, Adidas deals and stuff like that.
also like Ninja switching over to Mixer, he must have
Yeah.
gotten some equity, which is
Oh
worth
yeah. He
shit.
probably got a huge paycheck for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, damn. So what's the next steps for this site?
Um, there's a lot of next steps. I got a pretty hefty cabana board going on with my ideas. But
Oh yeah. Oh, so you use like a which can't you use Trello?
I use Notion. I did used to use Trello.
Notion's very
Notion's
nice
pretty
design.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's, I guess some people still prefer Trello because it has some more advanced usage, but I was literally just using it for, tasks, moving them, done, whatever. So yeah, Notion's pretty cool. But yeah, I guess I'm trying to like think of interesting ways to work on user growth. I have a number of ideas of new features that I want to do. There's no shortage of that, and basic some UI cleanup and things like that. But yeah,
Yeah, partnering with some esport people during and then just telling them mention your thing and sending them like $10 just to mention you during a stream would be
yeah.
pretty cool.
There's lots of marketing verticals you can go with in this space, right? The part for me is I'm really trying my hardest to not seem like a sellout kind of thing, because out of all the communities, gamers are pretty sensitive to that kind of thing, I guess you could
Hmm.
say. So like sometimes like you see people like posting on Reddit, sort of self promotion, and they get blasted, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think like reaching out to even just like smaller communities, because if there's a streamer with a few hundred versus a few thousand, their community might be more accepting of using this kind of tool, whereas I probably can't afford to pay Ninja to promote this kind of thing,
Oh
right?
yeah, not Ninja.
So,
Yeah.
but
But
yeah,
I mean, I do hear you're saying that Sakun, who created SiteProjects.net, he's the programmer. He makes all of it.
yeah, yeah,
He's like the master at like linking this to places. Like I found him on Product Hunt. Every single time he does it, he always gets a whole bunch of views or upvotes or whatever. He just what he does is he just says like if he posts to Reddit like, "Hey guys, I just made this thing. Let me know what you think." It's not like selling out if you do it the
yeah.
right way. Yeah.
Yeah, I was, it's funny you bring that up. I was actually having a, like, kind of a conversation on Indie Hackers with a guy about this yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Um,
What do you say?
yeah. Yeah, he basically said the same thing. Like, you just have to go about it the right way, I guess. And the way you word things, especially, hey, I'm not selling something. Check out my project. It's kind of cool. It's related to what you guys are interested in. And yeah.
And my roommate has a water company. It's Coralba. It's this very nice, beautiful water bottles. And I was asking him how he sells it. And then, like, because in my head, I imagined he would go up to a restaurant and be like, "Oh my gosh, I have this really cool bottle. If you want it, it's this price." And then he's like, "No, no, no, that's not how I sell it." And then I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, well, like I go in and then, just whenever the waiter comes up, he just like casually mentions like, 'Hey, so I have this startup I'm doing. It's a water bottle, and we have a beta, and I was wondering if you wanted to join our beta to just test out the product." And
Yeah.
then and that's like you don't feel like you're being sold. You feel like you're being invited to something exclusive.
Yeah, it's
Is
more of a friendly conversation than a sales pitch.
Yeah, and then people are like, "Startup beta,
Yeah, yeah.
beta test. Like what is this?"
They like the sound of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have to pay for it right away.
Yeah. And then he says, yeah, it's just like selling is just like you know just being cool and giving them just not trying to sell them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's important. But yeah, I'm sure there's lots of you know, social media plays. You know, lots
Mhm.
of people post clips of their games and stuff on Instagram. There's some big pages for that. Um, Lots of ways you could advertise this sort of thing. But yeah.
What if you let the people created a way for these people who are the pros to sign into their own pages?
Yeah, that's one of the ideas I had actually really early on, is like have a claim this profile button almost.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's tough. So, you know, to get someone, you know, bigger to do that is one thing. And then, you know, the question I had is, you know, if I get someone big, claim their profile, you know, they might update their gear, but will they keep coming back and always updating it like that? I'm not sure. I think they'd have to have some, you know, good incentive.
Well, you'd still keep the
Maybe if,
community posted stuff there.
yeah,
You
that's what I was
don't
thinking.
take away.
Allow the community to still continue to update the gear on their
Yeah,
profile.
because and they could comment and say, "Oh, this is not accurate," but they can't take it down. Like it'd be fucked
Yeah.
up if one of these pros came on and deleted all of the things that the community built. You know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Want to avoid that for sure.
Yeah. And then so, what are like some challenges that you've been working on?
Um, One of the reasons I wanted to do this site is because I thought, you know, the whole crowdsourcing thing kind of introduces a few interesting challenges. So, like, one of them was, how do I do the sort of ranking on the page
Hmm.
for, you know, upvoting and downvoting products? So, you know, the most accurate ones show up on the top, even though there might be more than one mouse, for example. And yeah, there were some like cool things. Like I looked into Reddit, which is obviously open source, and it has one of the most popular, you know, upvote downvote systems. And you know, I won't get into the nitty gritty, but it sort of uses time as well as number of upvotes and downvotes within a time frame.
Wait, get into it because that's interesting because it's because a side project's on that. I think about that as well.
Yeah, I probably will butcher it, but from what I remember is basically, you know, in programming, you have this concept of an epoch. So it's basically the time that's passed since a date that's way in the past.
Uh-huh.
And so it basically does a bunch of math comparing upvotes, downvotes, and the time that's passed. For example, like it prevents things like brand new things that get a couple upvotes from, you know, and compared to something really old that has a number of upvotes, then you want to see the newer stuff, even if it
Mhm.
has the same number of upvotes, for example. So it solves that kind of problem. I actually found this really cool algorithm that works with downvotes and upvotes sort of in the same way. And it basically assigns a ranking uh, similar to Reddit, but I think the problem with Reddit was it's more focused on having new stuff at the top. And if, you know, there's a, you know, someone's mouse is well ranked, I don't necessarily want to say that's incorrect now because someone added a new mouse and it has one
Hmm.
upvote, right? But I can't remember the name, but there was some cool algorithm that I found online while doing this research of like how Amazon ranks things based on stars and all that kind of stuff. So that was a pretty cool technical challenge for me. Um, Also, just like thinking about how, like I mentioned before, logged in users versus non logged in users, how to prevent people from spamming stuff. You know, because obviously on something like this where anyone can contribute, moderation or you know, filters, that kind of thing is a big challenge.
Oh yeah, that's huge because you
Yeah,
don't want people to just start spamming the site and just have everything get destroyed. And
yeah, exactly. So you know, you want to allow people to contribute, but you also have to be protective somewhat. Yeah.
nice. And what kind of feedback are you looking for from the community?
I think the most important thing would just be for, you know, people who are interested in this kind of thing and would use it. You know, what else would they look for in a site like this? A lot of the other sites I see, you know, that have the keybinds or the gear, they're sort of almost more like a reference thing. You know, I'm going to go look up Tifu's keybinds and then I'm going to use them and I'm done on the site. I kind of wanted to make a little bit more of like a community vibe, somewhere people would want to, take a look and hang out for a bit longer than just checking someone's gear.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever might interest someone like that, like that's why I added the gear gallery and stuff like that, and comments and all that, as well as just like, yeah. Do you think the way it works right now is what you expect, I guess, or what you want when you come looking for this type of information?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. And let's see. Yeah, anything else that you wanted to mention?
Um, I wanted to ask you. I'm glad you have this sort of conversational tone to this podcast, because I was actually thinking like, I watched the other ones and I got to ask you a few questions about side projects. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you're
But
welcome to ask me any questions.
yeah, I guess I'm just curious, like, what it's been like for you guys so far, and like how you've found, doing these podcasts. Obviously, you talked in the other one about it's kind of a great growth strategy, and it adds a little bit more. You can put a face to a name when you see
Yeah.
these people around your website now.
Yeah, so like for me, like I kind of realized that like I kind of try and think of websites as rooms of real people, like
Yeah,
in real life. Imagine if you went to a party and like when you first walk in, like no one makes eye contact with you. Everyone's like silent, and there's just no one's really doing much. And then you kind of walk into the room and it's just like, is this a party I want to be at? Not really. And then
hmm
sometimes in order to get the party started, someone has to do something stupid, or maybe do something funny, or engage other people, start talking to other people. And so it's kind of like, another analogy is like the first day of school. Like, your website is kind of like a new user doesn't know anyone. They don't know what's going on. They're a little nervous. They're like, is this a waste of my time? Whatever, when they first go to a website. And then so if you, all people really want, like imagine if you went into school a month in, so you don't know anyone, but everyone else already knows each other.
hmm
Like people really just want to be introduced to someone more than anything. They would just love to someone just be like, hey, come over here, come talk to some of my friends. This is blah blah blah. This is blah blah blah. So I think just by like physically introducing people like this is a great way to introduce people, who want to be introduced.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good point, actually, because yeah, you want to go into a site, and then you almost want to see evidence of other people there, kind of
Yeah,
thing. And
exactly.
like what you guys do, like comment on every post, it,
Yeah.
it like really makes people stick around, I think, because they're like, oh, I actually got some interaction here. And yeah, I think that's a really good point to make. Um, and I think that's something I want to try too. Like
Do it.
adding comments to, I've done a little bit of this, like adding comments to pages so that there's, again, sort of, evidence that someone's here. So if they post a comment, they might get a reply, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's nice when you like, it's like Steve Jobs says, like you poke something and you poke the universe and it pokes back. It's kind of like
Yeah.
you want your site to, and then it's kind of like you set the pace for how the community interacts. So it's like, I would love it if people on sideprojects.net just randomly called each other and interviewed each other and posted it.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Or I
Right?
like what you do by actually posting video feedback.
Yeah, exactly. And then I kind of feel like if I do video feedback on every single project, people will have more incentive like to post because they'll want to get more feedback. And yeah, so I think the more you think about your site is just like, okay, would I enjoy this place if it was a real world setting? You know,
hmm
is the behaviors something that's like inviting, or is it kind of like a party where no one's talking?
Yeah, yeah. I also, another thing that you mentioned that I really like was sort of you talked about how Stack Overflow, people answer questions because they get sort of points for that and stuff.
Yeah,
Almost like, gamification, I guess it's called. And I really like that because that's an idea I've been thinking about for a while for Armory gear. How do how do I incentivize people to contribute? You know, there might always be, you know, the 1% of people that are super passionate, so they'll contribute anyways. But
Mhm.
I think gamification is a really cool idea of, you know, how to get people to post more. You know, if you post some things, you get points. If you get upvoted, you get points, and then you can show off those points in the forums or, you know, on your profile, etc.
Yeah, I got that from the site called Status as a Service. It's this person's blog. If you just Google status as a service, like it's this really long article, but it's like my Bible basically,
Yeah,
and it kind
yeah,
of just says that like that's like the underlying DNA uh, of sites is building status. You know, because it's why would people do things for free? Like nothing in this world is
hmm,
free, and so you really want to for people who leave gaming gear, for example, like what's their incentive for posting this stuff? Like, you know, maybe just talk to a user and be like, hey, why did you update that? You know, um, it, and what kind of things would incentivize you to do it more? Like, are you trying to
hmm.
make a name for yourself, or like, are you trying to become like from the company? Who knows? Like, so
Yeah, yeah, and I think, yeah, if you think about it, there's this sort of, you know, you see it everywhere, right? You see it on Reddit, you know, with the karma, or
yeah,
even like Flare. You see it on, you know, even like MakerLog community, things like that. And yeah, I think it's even like if you think way back, like when forums were really popular, they would often have a little thing on the side under your name, you know, how many posts or like what, and they'd give you like a rank or whatever. So yeah, I think it's a really cool idea.
yeah, maybe just make a top like a little widget for top contributors. We're actually going to include that soon because one thing we realize is there's not enough. There's a lot of posts on our site right now, but not as much commenting. And we
Hmm.
really want it to be like a great feedback community. In addition for people showing off their projects.
Yeah.
So then, you know, so we want to start like highlighting people who are the top commenters. Um, Still wondering if I should exclude myself and Sakun from that list.
I
You know,
thought about that too, actually. I was like coming up with, you know, the point breakdown of what each action would give you. And I was like, my
exactly.
profile would be like, you know, the top rank.
Yeah, no one likes that guy who just like brags like, "Oh, I created the site and I'm the best one."
Yeah, and then they click on your profile, creator of the site, and they're like, oh, well.
uh, yeah, but maybe if you had like a rank to highlight like the top users and like and then maybe just interview some gamers as well. I think that would be kind of cool, you know?
Yeah, I've thought about that too, you know, from looking at your site. I had kind of planned on, you know, maybe starting kind of a blog thing, you know, talking about different products and that sort of thing. But I think actually, you know, if I'm trying to make more of a community, you know, interviewing even people who sign up if they're down, you know, talk about, you know, your gear and why you use it. And that's
Yeah.
another thing too, like just being able to maybe add a little bit of almost a review on the things on your profile. I think that would be a pretty cool
Yeah,
addition.
one thing that I've learned is like from like doing these videos is if you do I do Zoom and then I
Hmm.
use this app called Descript. Let's see. And this is like the secret sauce of like the video editing. It
Oh, it
basically
automatically cuts back and forth, I guess.
no,
Oh,
it's even better. So what it does is it transcribes your video
oh,
and
very
then
cool.
and then it and then you can click on certain words and then it will um, move to that part of the video, and you can even copy certain sections, paste them in other places, and like
Oh,
so it can edit the video as if you're editing a Word doc.
yeah, that's super
um,
cool, actually.
yeah, and then um, and then also like, you know, for example, if you interview someone and then you ask them about your mouse, so then you have them
Hmm.
show their mouse on the thing, and then you have them ask them about their monitors, then you have them like turn their little webcam and, you know, show their monitor, and then you kind of use the timestamps, and then there's a on Vimeo you can, or also on YouTube you can I made a spreadsheet where I can enter in the time, and then it it turns that link. If I enter in the timestamp in a certain cell, it will add it to the URL and then give me a link.
I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I like just post the timestamped link to. So then for the mouse, then you'll post so you'll get like 8 pieces of content if you have them review everything that they do.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Way to generate a lot of content just by interviewing. So one interview could add content to like 8 different projects.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that would be a really cool idea. Yeah, and I think even having like, even if it was just a written interview, but they did the same thing, send me a picture of, these, and then they can upload them to their profile. But I do like that you guys have sort of video interviews, and it's cool because you can put a face next time I see you on sideprojects.net commenting. It's a little more personal, a little more of a community vibe.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I think leaving it open to anyone is pretty important. Like we don't really like have any sort of criteria for being interviewed. You just want it to just be like, oh, I'm just gonna introduce anyone.
Yeah.
I speaking of, you were saying you're researching Reddit. I read the Reddit book as well, and the book by the Reddit founder, and he kind of talks about, I don't know if it was Reddit. I think it was Reddit, the Reddit book.
Alexis Ohanian?
Yeah, it's the first 100 users are very important. So like, to do things that like don't scale, like interview, because you got to set the pace with the first 100 users, which sets the community. And once you have that kind of set you can't really change that, because once it starts scaling, like it will kind of be based off of that 100 users setting the pace.
Yeah. I liked what you mentioned too about the first users on Reddit were just tons of alt accounts of the owners. I remember my brother telling me the same thing when I was starting the website. You got to kind of kickstart it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how many of the projects we've seen on sideprojects.net are fake. Just kidding.
Yeah, that's a little bit harder to fake, but.
And just imagine if we did all of the side projects and faked all of them just to have content.
Well, you'd be a pretty successful maker with all those products, I guess. So. Not
to monetize them, just for the projects.
Just to have them there. Yeah. Well, get to work.
Yeah. Well, anyways, it was great interviewing, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was good to meet you.
How do people get in contact with you, participate on your site, and whatnot?
Yeah, it's just Armory Gear, ArmoryGamingGear.com. I should probably get that right. My Twitter is Armory Gear. You can find my personal Twitter on there as well, I think. But yeah, feel free to contact me on sideprojects.net. Yeah, so those are my, the Armory branded Twitter and Instagram, but it's me if you DM it. So yeah.
Cool.
Don't be afraid.
All right. Well, I'll catch you later, Cody.
Yeah, thanks.
And
good talking to
you. Do this again sometime, and then also post some updates next time.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Catch you later, man.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.